So on to the second item, bought from the trading website. As you all know, I'm a big fan of the PlayStation 3. I have quite a nice collection of games, and one of the games, the more unusual games, is Time and Eternity. It's had a very bad rap in reviews and playthroughs and commentary. I think possibly not quite deserved. I think it's either European or New Zealand copy of the game, but just a standard edition, which I have played a bit, but I never played it through. And then I saw that the limited edition came up on our local New Zealand trading website, and it wasn't selling because nobody wanted it. Not that many people in New Zealand collect slightly niche games. This is the Northern American edition. You can see straight away it's got the number 1 on the spine there. That's region 1 for United States, North America. And it's still in its cellophane. And I wanted it really for the 2 items with it, the art book and the soundtrack. So let's just have a quick look at that. Trusty German cheese knife. And there we are, cellophane is off. Time and Eternity's the soundtrack, still in its original cellophane. I'll just very quickly put that on for you guys, because I think it's actually not a bad soundtrack from memory. So I hope you can hear that in the background. There are unfortunately not many tracks on here, but as you can hear, it's really, really nice, as you would expect from a game produced by Nipponichi Software. So we've got a short but very nice soundtrack. Let's have a look next at the game, still in its original wrapping. And some interesting text on the back. An RPG with an unusual combat system, it says, in French for some reason, produced for the United States. Anyway, I seem to remember, I played it years ago when I first set up my PlayStation 3. I seem to remember that the combat took a bit of getting used to. It was unusual, and it can be quite fast. And there's shooting involved, but it's actually a fun combat system, and I think once you get into it, it's just fun to play. The art in the game is also very nice. It is obviously a PlayStation 3 production, so can't quite rival what we have on the PS4 these days. But I need to go back to it, I think, and need to play it. And if it's interesting, I will do my usual thing, which is do some video recording and show you guys what the game is like and just talk about it a bit. Because it's a shame that certain games just seem to drop off the edge of the cliff for whatever reason. And in the case of Time and Eternity, I think it was to do with the writing and the type of humour they used. Possibly some fan service, I can't remember honestly. So might take another look at that. And the art book. It's small, it's hardback, quite stiff. There aren't many pages, but what there is looks like it's produced to a high standard, which once again is, I won't pull it too far apart because I'm worried about breaking the spine. As you'd expect from Nipponichi Software, a high standard of art design and print production. I seem to remember the specific humour in the game, which is obviously very Japanese humour. I mean, what else would you get in a Japanese game? It didn't quite gel with many Western reviewers. I've talked about humour before. It is very, very much a question of what you're culturally used to, how flexible you are, and apart from that, it's a very, very personal thing, even within your own culture. So I'm always very careful about humour. And I make allowances, you know, what I find funny, someone else might not. You can't force someone to laugh. But I try and keep an open mind. I have to understand and accept that Japanese humour is vastly different from our Western concept of humour. And if I don't understand it, I give it at least the benefit of the doubt. I seem to have an easy affinity with most Japanese games, and I often find them humorous. Staff comments. The animation director Hiroshi Tanada has written, there were plenty of new challenges throughout this project, even for us animation professionals. To be honest, there are lots of things I think we could have done better. Regardless, I hope everyone gets to experience all those things that make this game different from everything else out there. Now, I find that a really, really interesting comment. You won't get many Western developers and producers saying, we tried to do a good job, we think with hindsight we could have done better. That is a very honest attitude to have, because with most jobs we do, with hindsight you say, oh yeah, now I know better, I could have done that differently and better. Of course, because you always learn on the job as you go along, and every experience adds to your pool of experience, and that's what I assume he's talking about. He also mentions that this game is very different from everything else out there. So maybe a lot of the reviewers and players just assumed it would be similar to what they already knew, because let's face it, we as gamers, we are like everybody else. We like to stick to the tried and true, what we know, we're comfortable with, and suddenly something's different. We say, oh, this is funny. Oh, I'm not sure I like this, you know, instant reaction. Sometimes you've got to give things time to work their magic. That's been my experience. And I've often tried a game and thought, oh, I'm not getting along with this. And then a year later I pick it up again, and I've had different experiences, and I've expanded my repertoire and my skills, and suddenly I find I can do this, and actually this is fun, you know. And you sometimes just got to give things a chance, just like you do with people, you know. Yep. So that is the final page with that comment and a little bit of illustration. And you see at the bottom there, that little flying dragon creature. He is sort of the sidekick to the main character. And honestly, he is one of the cutest sidekicks I've ever seen. And we know there are many in JRPGs. I'm just having a quick look if I can find him anywhere else. Yes, here he is. He's called Drake. And here he is. He's cute, he's funny, he sometimes says really silly stuff. The description of him here says, this mini dragon is kind of like the game's mascot. He was created with the idea of ugly cute in mind. He was initially going to be bigger, but to balance things out, when placed next to the heroines, his size was reduced. And honestly, I think they really got it just right. From the picture I have in my mind of the game, it just all looked perfectly balanced to me. So there you are, a lovely little art book to go with this limited edition, and the soundtrack, which is still going in the background, and the game itself. I don't know if the game has anything inside. I would expect there is a manual inside. But I think I've taken up enough of your time. That was unboxing NISA and Time and Eternity, two very different games from two consoles that can now be regarded as legacy. Still wonderful games available on them, games you may have overlooked or never even heard of. I will try and cover them because they all deserve a spot in the limelight at some point, I think. Thank you very much for watching. Keep well. I'm Food for Dogs. Bye-bye.